Jake Harrison wiped his sweaty palms on his uniform for the third time in 5 minutes. His hands would not stop shaking. Today was the biggest day in human history, and he was about to mess it up. The space station called Harmony Point floated in the darkness between Earth and the alien homeworld. It was built just for this meeting. Humans and aliens would meet face to face for the first time ever. Jake was part of the human team, but he felt like the wrong person for the job. "Remember, you're training," Captain Lisa Brooks said to the group of humans. She was the leader of their team. "Speak slowly. Use the formal words. Do not make sudden moves. These aliens are not like us." Jake nodded with the others, but his mind was blank. He had studied for 3 years. He knew 17 different ways to say hello to aliens. He could speak their language called Galactic Standard, but right now he could barely remember his own name. The aliens were called Zephyrians. They lived on a planet far from Earth. Their government had sent a message to Earth 5 years ago. It was the first proof that humans were not alone in the universe. After years of careful talking through radio messages, both sides agreed to meet. The meeting room was huge and white. Human flags hung on one side. Zephyrian symbols hung on the other side. In the middle was a long table with chairs for both species. Jake stood with the other humans as they waited. His job was simple. He was a cultural liaison. That meant he would help both sides understand each other better. He was supposed to be friendly, but formal. The door on the far side opened. Jake's breath caught in his throat. The Zephyrians walked in like they were floating. They were tall and thin, much taller than humans. Their skin looked like it was made of metal and water mixed together. It changed colors as they moved. Silver turned to blue, turned to green. It was the most beautiful thing Jake had ever seen. The first Zephyrian was clearly the leader. He wore robes that sparkled. Behind him walked others, including one who looked younger than the rest. Jake stared at the young one. She was smaller than the others, but still taller than any human. Her skin was mostly silver with streaks of pale blue. Her eyes were large and dark like deep space. When she moved, her skin rippled with soft colors. Captain Brooks stepped forward. "I greet you in the name of Earth," she said in perfect Galactic Standard. "We are honored to meet you." The Zephyrian leader responded in the same formal way. His voice sounded like wind chimes. "We greet you in the name of Zephyr Prime. This meeting brings hope for both our peoples." One by one, the humans were introduced to the Zephyrians. Jake's turn came closer and closer. His heart beat so fast he thought everyone could hear it. "This is Lieutenant Jake Harrison," Captain Brooks said. "He will help our peoples understand each other." The young Zephyrian female stepped forward. Her skin shifted to a lighter blue. The translation device on Jake's collar hummed as she spoke. "I am Zara of the Science Council," her translated voice said. "I study how different species communicate." Jake was supposed to say, "I am honored to meet a respected colleague." Those were the exact words he had practiced 1,000 times. They were formal and safe. Instead, he looked at her shimmering skin and her curious dark eyes, and his brain forgot how to work. "Wow, you're gorgeous," he said in plain English. The room went completely silent. Jake's translation device caught his words and turned them into Zephyrian language. Every alien in the room heard what he said. Every human stared at him in shock. Zara's skin changed instantly. The silver and blue melted away, replaced by bright gold that spread from her face down her neck. She looked like she was glowing from inside. Jake realized what he had done. His face turned red. He opened his mouth to apologize, to say the right words to fix his terrible mistake. But Zara tilted her head to one side. Her large eyes looked directly at him. When she spoke, she used English instead of her own language. "Say it again, human." Her voice was soft and musical, even speaking his language. The gold color in her skin got brighter. Jake stood frozen. Everyone was staring. The other Zephyrians made quiet sounds that might have been surprise. Captain Brooks looked like she wanted to drag Jake out of the room. I'm sorry," Jake said, still in English. "I was supposed to say something else, something formal, but you said I was gorgeous," Zara said. She seemed to be testing the word. This means beautiful, yes? Yes, Jake said. He could not look away from her. Very beautiful. The gold in her skin pulsed like a heartbeat. This is not how your people usually greet strangers. No, Jake said quickly. I mean, yes, you are gorgeous, but no, we don't usually say that when we first meet someone. I made a mistake. A mistake, Zara repeated. She looked at the other humans, then back at Jake. But you meant what you said? Jake wanted to lie. He wanted to say it was just an error, that he meant to say the formal greeting. But looking at her curious expression and the way her skin glowed golden, he could not. Yes, he said quietly. I meant it, Zara smiled. At least Jake thought it was a smile. Her mouth curved upward like a human smile, but her whole face seemed to light up from within. Then I am not offended by your mistake, she said. The Zephyrian leader cleared his throat. It sounded like distant thunder. He spoke in his own language, to Zara. She answered back, and Jake's translator picked up words like protocol and unusual. Captain Brooks stepped forward. Lieutenant Harrison apologizes for his informal greeting, she said in Galactic Standard. He meant no disrespect. No disrespect was taken, the leader said. Perhaps this human directness is something we should learn about. The formal introductions continued, but Jake barely heard them. He kept glancing at Zara, who was still glowing softly gold. Every time their eyes met, she would tilt her head in that curious way. When the ceremony ended and both groups moved to separate rooms, Zara walked past Jake. She slowed down just enough to whisper in English. Thank you for the mistake, Jake. Harrison. Then she was gone, following her people down the hallway. Jake watched until she disappeared around a corner. Harrison, Captain Brooks said sharply. My office. Now. Jake followed his captain, knowing he was in trouble. But he could not stop thinking about the way Zara's skin had turned gold when he called her gorgeous. He wondered what that color meant in her culture. He had a feeling he was about to learn a lot more about Zephyrian customs than he ever expected. Captain Brooks did not yell at Jake, which was worse than yelling. She just stared at him for a long time while he sat in the chair across from her desk. Do you know what you did out there? She finally asked. I made a fool of myself. Jake said. You told an alien female she was gorgeous during a formal diplomatic meeting, Brooks said. The first meeting between our species. Ever. Jake's face burned with shame. I know, it just came out. I was nervous and she was so... He stopped himself before he said beautiful again. Brooks leaned back in her chair. The good news is that she didn't seem angry. The bad news is that we don't know what that golden color means in their culture. For all we know, you might have insulted her entire family. She asked me to say it again, Jake pointed out, which could mean anything. Maybe she was testing you. Maybe she was giving you a chance to apologize properly. Brooks rubbed her temples. Harrison, you're supposed to be our cultural expert. What do you think it means? Jake had been wondering the same thing. I don't know. But she seemed pleased. She smiled. At least, I think it was a smile. A soft knock came at the door. Brooks called for the person to enter. Dr. Amy Chen, the team's xenobiologist, stuck her head in. Captain, the Zephyrians have requested that Lieutenant Harrison join them for the cultural exchange sessions tomorrow. Specifically, the young female Zara asked for him. Brooks and Jake stared at each other. Did she say why? Brooks asked. She told their leader that she wants to study human communication methods. She said Lieutenant Harrison provides interesting examples of direct emotional expression. When Dr. Chen left, Brooks looked at Jake with new interest. Well, Harrison, it seems your mistake might have opened a door. But if you're going to work with them, you need to be more careful. Learn their customs, don't make any more scenes. Yes, ma'am, Jake said. But part of him was excited. He would get to see Zara again. The next morning, Jake met the Zephyrian group in one of the station's common areas. It was designed to be comfortable for both species, with adjustable lighting and furniture that could change shape. Zara was there with 3 other Zephyrians. When Jake entered, her skin shifted from silver to a light gold color. He was starting to think gold might be a happy color for her. Good morning, Jake Harrison, she said in English. Her accent made his name sound musical. Good morning, Zara, he replied, trying to use the formal tone he should have used yesterday. You're being very proper today, she observed. Is this how humans usually speak to new acquaintances? Yes, Jake said. Then he paused. Well, no, it depends on the situation. Yesterday was formal, so I should have been formal, but usually humans are more casual when we get to know each other. Zara's large eyes seemed to study his face. Casual means relaxed, friendly? Exactly. And when you called me gorgeous, that was casual? Jake felt his face turn red again. The other Zephyrians were listening with interest. Their skin colors shifted slightly, but Jake could not read what the changes meant. That was very casual, he admitted. Too casual for a first meeting. But it was honest, Zara said. Yes, it was honest. She seemed pleased with this answer. Her skin grew a little brighter. I would like to learn about human honesty. In our culture, we rarely speak so directly about physical appearance. It is considered very personal. How personal? Jake asked, curious. Zara looked at the other Zephyrians, then back at Jake. Among my people, commenting on someone's appearance is usually done only between close friends or family, or, she paused, her skin shifting to a deeper gold, between those who are courting. Jake's heart skipped a beat. Oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable. You did not make me uncomfortable, Zara said quickly. You made me curious. Humans seem to express feelings very openly. This is fascinating to study. One of the other Zephyrians spoke in their language. Jake's translator picked up something about research protocols. Zara answered back, her voice firm. My colleague reminds me that I am here to study your communication methods, she told Jake. Not to engage in personal conversations, but I think personal conversations are part of communication, yes? Definitely, Jake said. Actually, humans probably communicate more through casual personal talk than through formal speeches. Then we should have casual personal talk, Zara decided. For research purposes. Over the next few hours, Jake found himself explaining human customs to Zara and her colleagues. But mostly, he talked to Zara. The others seemed content to listen and take notes. When humans say someone is beautiful or handsome, what does this mean? Zara asked. It means we find them attractive, pleasing to look at. It can be about physical appearance, but also about the way someone moves or expresses themselves. And you say this to strangers? Sometimes. If we want to show interest in someone, we might compliment their appearance. But usually, we start with smaller compliments first. Smaller compliments, Jake thought about it. Like saying someone has nice eyes or a pretty smile, or that their clothes look good. Zara touched her own face with one long, graceful finger. Do humans have nice eyes? Some do. You have beautiful eyes, actually. The words came out before Jake could stop them. Zara's skin flashed bright gold for a moment, then settled into a steady warm glow. This is another compliment? Yes. Sorry, I should ask before I say things like that. Why should you ask? Because, well, some people don't like compliments from strangers. They might think you're being too forward or inappropriate. Zara considered this. But compliments are good things, yes? You are telling someone they are pleasing to look at. This should make them happy. It usually does, but humans are complicated about these things. Zephyrians are also complicated, Zara admitted. When you called me gorgeous yesterday, my skin changed color. Do you know what that means? Jake shook his head. Gold is the color of pleasure and joy, but also surprise. When someone makes us feel unexpected happiness, we glow gold. So you were happy? Jake asked. Very happy. No one has ever told me I was gorgeous before. In my language, there is no exact word for this. Beautiful, yes. Aesthetically pleasing, yes. But gorgeous? She seemed to taste the word. It is stronger. More emotional. It is more emotional, Jake agreed. It means I think you're not just beautiful, but amazingly beautiful. So beautiful that it surprises me. The gold in Zara's skin pulsed like a heartbeat. And you thought this when you first saw me? Jake nodded, not trusting his voice. This is very direct, Zara said softly. Very honest. I like this about humans. One of the other Zephyrians cleared their throat and spoke in their language. Zara's skin flickered to silver, then back to gold. My colleague says we should return to formal cultural exchange, she told Jake. But I would like to continue learning about human directness. Would you teach me more words like gorgeous? I'd be happy to, Jake said. As the day went on, Jake taught Zara about human expressions of attraction and affection. She was genuinely interested in understanding the differences between words like pretty, beautiful, gorgeous, and stunning. She asked about the difference between cute and attractive. She wanted to know why humans had so many ways to say the same thing. Because feelings are complicated, Jake explained. Different words express different levels of feeling, or different types of attraction. What type of attraction is gorgeous? Zara asked. Jake felt his face grow warm. It's intense. It means someone affects you strongly just by looking at them. And you felt this when you saw me? Yes, Jake said quietly. Zara was quiet for a long moment. Her skin shifted through several shades of gold and silver. Finally, she looked directly at him. In my language, we have a phrase, she said. It translates roughly as vision that stops thought. It describes something so beautiful that it makes your mind go blank. That's a beautiful phrase. When you first saw me, did your mind go blank? Jake laughed. Completely. That's why I said the wrong thing. Then perhaps, Zara said, her skin glowing bright gold, we understand each other better than we thought. As the session ended and the Zephyrians prepared to leave, Zara approached Jake one more time. Will you teach me more tomorrow? She asked. About human communication? Yes. And perhaps you could teach me other human words. I find your language very expressive. I'd like that, Jake said. As she walked away with her colleagues, Jake heard one of them speaking in rapid Zephyrian. His translator caught words like protocol and inappropriate behavior. Zara's response was firm and clear. Jake's translator rendered it as, understanding leads to peace. I am learning to understand humans. Jake smiled as he watched her go. He had a feeling tomorrow's lesson would be very interesting. Jake woke up to emergency alarms blaring through the space station. Red lights flashed in his room as the computer announced, all personnel report to emergency stations. Diplomatic crisis in progress. He threw on his uniform and ran to the command center. Captain Brooks was there with the senior staff, all looking worried. The main screen showed angry messages flashing in both human and Zephyrian languages. What happened? Jake asked Dr. Chen, who was standing near the communication console. The trade negotiations went wrong, she whispered. Very wrong. The Zephyrians think we're trying to steal their sacred moon colonies. Jake's stomach dropped. The moon colonies were the most important thing to the Zephyrians. Their ancestors were buried there. It was like someone trying to steal Earth's most sacred places. Captain Brooks saw Jake and waved him over. Harrison, we need your help. The formal translators made a massive error. When we proposed joint research stations, the translation came out as human ownership claims. The Zephyrians are furious. On the screen, Jake could see the Zephyrian delegation in their section of the station. They were moving quickly, their skin flashing angry colors he had never seen before, dark red and black patterns that looked like storm clouds. Where's Zara? Jake asked. With her people. They're preparing to leave the station. This could end all contact between our species. Brooks looked exhausted. The formal diplomatic channels are broken. Neither side trusts the translators anymore. Jake watched the screen, trying to spot Zara among the group. When he finally saw her, his heart sank. Her skin was the same dark, stormy colors as the others. She looked upset and angry. Captain, Jake said slowly, what if we tried informal communication? Zara and I have been talking for days. She trusts me. Maybe she could help explain what really happened. It's worth a try, Brooks said. But be careful. One wrong word could make things worse. Jake made his way to the neutral zone between the human and Zephyrian sections. He sent a message to Zara's personal communicator, asking if she would meet him. For a long time there was no answer. Then finally, a brief reply. 5 minutes. Observation deck. The observation deck was a quiet area with large windows looking out at the stars. When Jake arrived, Zara was already there, standing with her back to him. Her skin was still dark with anger, but now it had streaks of silver mixed in. "Zara," Jake said softly. She turned around. Her large eyes looked hurt and disappointed. "Your people want to take our sacred places," she said in English. "After all our talk of friendship and understanding." "No," Jake said firmly. "That's not what we want." The translation was wrong. How can a translation be so wrong? Her skin flashed darker. "Your negotiators said they wanted ownership rights. They used the word that means to possess completely. There is no mistake in this." Jake felt a chill. He understood the problem now. What word did they hear exactly? Zara spoke a word in Zephyrian that made Jake's translator hum. It came back as total possession with right of exclusion. "Oh no," Jake breathed. "They meant to say joint partnership. The words sound similar in Galactic Standard, but they mean completely different things." "Joint partnership?" Zara's skin flickered between dark and light colors. "Yes. We wanted to work together on research. Both our peoples, sharing the work and the discoveries. Not taking anything from you, but working with you." Zara stared at him. Slowly, the dark colors in her skin began to fade, replaced by confused swirls of silver and blue. "You are certain of this?" "Completely certain. Humans would never try to take your sacred places. We understand how important they are to you." Zara was quiet for a long moment. "But why should my people believe this?" The formal translation was very clear. "Because," Jake said, "you know me. You've been learning about human honesty. Have I ever lied to you?" "No," Zara admitted. "But you are just one human." "How do I know your leaders feel the same way?" Jake thought quickly. "What if we could prove it? What if I could show you the original human documents and you could translate them yourself? You've been learning English. You would know if we were lying." Interest flickered in Zara's eyes. This would be possible? Yes. "And Zara, there's something else you should know. I found out today that you're not just any scientist, are you?" Zara's skin went completely silver, the Zephyrian color for surprise. "What do you mean?" "You're the daughter of the High Council leader. You're basically Zephyrian royalty." For a moment, Zara looked like she might deny it. Then her shoulders sagged. "How did you learn this?" Captain Brooks figured it out when she was trying to understand why the Zephyrians were so angry. "Your father isn't just upset as a leader. He's upset as a parent who thinks his daughter was deceived by humans she trusted." Zara's skin cycled through several colors rapidly. "I did not want special treatment. I wanted to be here as a scientist, not as a political figure." "I understand," Jake said. "But right now, being both might be the only way to save this peace process. You're the only one who can bridge both sides. You know your people and you're starting to understand humans. What are you asking me to do?" "Help me convince both our peoples that this was a mistake, not a betrayal. Help me fix this before we lose the chance for our species to be friends." Zara looked out at the stars for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was thoughtful. "In our culture, when there is a serious misunderstanding, both sides must show good faith. They must prove their intentions are pure. How do they prove that? By putting something valuable at risk. By showing they trust each other enough to be vulnerable." Jake nodded. "What would that look like here?" "Your people would have to show complete transparency. All documents, all intentions, everything open for my people to examine. And my people, we would have to admit that we may have jumped to conclusions too quickly." "Would your father agree to that?" "If I asked him to, yes, but Jake," her skin shifted to a deeper gold. "If I do this, I will be speaking for both my people and yours. I will be taking responsibility for making peace. This is very serious. I know it's serious. But Zara, I've seen how you think. I've seen how much you care about understanding different peoples. I trust you to be fair to both sides." The gold in her skin brightened. "You trust me?" "Completely." Zara took a deep breath. "Then we will try. But we must be very careful. One more mistake could end everything." Together, they made their way back to the diplomatic sections. Zara requested an immediate meeting with both delegations. It took some convincing, but eventually both sides agreed to gather in the main conference room. The atmosphere was tense. The humans sat on one side, looking worried and defensive. The Zephyrians sat on the other side, their skins still dark with anger and hurt. Jake and Zara stood in the middle. "I have asked for this meeting," Zara announced, speaking in both languages, "because I believe a terrible mistake has been made. Not a mistake of bad intentions, but a mistake of bad communication." She gestured to Jake. "Lieutenant Harrison has shown me the original human documents. With his help, I have translated them myself. The humans never intended to claim ownership of our sacred places. They wanted partnership." Murmurs arose from both sides. Zara's father, the Zephyrian leader, spoke in their language. Jake's translator rendered it as, "How can we trust this translation when the official one was so wrong?" "Because," Zara replied, "I am not just translating words, I am translating intentions. I have spent days learning how humans think and speak. When they say joint research partnership, they mean exactly that, working together as equals." "Captain," Brooks stood up, "the Zephyrians have every right to be angry with our translators. We propose complete transparency. All our documents, all our plans open for your examination. We want you to see that we never intended any harm." The Zephyrian leader considered this. His skin shifted from dark red to a more neutral purple. "And what guarantee do we have that this will not happen again?" Jake stepped forward. "What if we created a new translation system? One that includes cultural context, not just words? Zara and I have been learning each other's languages and customs. We could work together to make sure future communication is clear." "You would trust this to two young people?" the Zephyrian leader asked. "With respect, Father," Zara said formally. "These two young people are the only ones who have managed to communicate clearly across species lines." Her father's skin flickered with what might have been amusement. "You make a fair point, my daughter." The next few hours were tense but productive. Both sides examined documents together. Jake and Zara worked side by side, translating not just words but explaining the cultural meanings behind them. Slowly, trust began to rebuild. The Zephyrians' skin colors lightened as they realized the humans truly meant no harm. The humans relaxed as they saw the Zephyrians were willing to listen. Near the end of the session, Zara's father approached Jake privately. "Young human," he said in accented English, "my daughter speaks of you often. She says you have taught her much about human honesty." "She's taught me a lot about Zephyrian wisdom," Jake replied. The older Zephyrian's skin showed hints of gold. "I think perhaps you have taught each other about more than just language and customs." Jake felt his face grow warm. "Sir, I have great respect for your daughter. She's brilliant and kind and gorgeous?" the leader asked, with what Jake was learning to recognize as Zephyrian. The final week of the cultural exchange program arrived too quickly for Jake's liking. Every day brought him closer to the moment when the Zephyrians would return to their home planet, and Zara would be gone from his life forever. He tried to focus on his work. The new translation protocols he and Zara had developed were working perfectly. Both species were learning to communicate with much better understanding. The diplomatic crisis had actually brought them closer together, but Jake's heart was breaking. He was in love with Zara. He had known it for days now, but he had not said anything. How could he? She was an alien from another world. She was royalty, and in just 3 days she would be billions of miles away. Jake was sitting in the observation deck staring out at the stars and feeling sorry for himself, when Zara found him. "You have been avoiding me," she said, settling into the chair beside him. Her skin was a soft silver color that Jake had learned meant she was concerned. "I haven't been avoiding you," Jake lied. "I've just been busy with reports." "Jake Harrison," Zara said firmly, I have learned much about human honesty. That was not honest. Jake sighed. She was right, of course. Okay, I've been avoiding you a little. Why? Jake looked at her sitting there, her skin shimmering in the starlight, her large eyes watching him with such kindness. How could he explain? Because it's easier, he said finally. In 3 days you'll go back to your world and I'll go back to mine. If I don't get used to you not being around, it's going to hurt more when you leave. Zara's skin shifted to a deeper silver, almost gray. You will miss me when I am gone? Yes, Jake said quietly. I'll miss you a lot. They sat in silence for a while, watching the stars. Finally, Zara spoke. In my culture, we have something called soul resonance. It is when two minds connect so deeply that they understand each other without words. It is very rare and very precious. That sounds beautiful, Jake said. I have been experiencing something like this with you, Zara continued. When we work together, when we talk, it feels like our thoughts are dancing together. I have never felt this with anyone before. Jake's heart started beating faster. Really? Yes. But I did not think it was possible between different species. I thought perhaps I was imagining it. Jake turned to look at her directly. You're not imagining it. I feel it too. Zara's skin began to glow with soft gold light. You do? From the first day we talked, it's like you understand not just what I'm saying, but what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. The gold in Zara's skin grew brighter. This is why I wanted to spend so much time learning about human emotions. I was trying to understand what was happening between us. And what did you figure out? Zara was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was very soft. I think I have fallen in love with you, Jake Harrison. Jake's breath caught in his throat. Zara, I know it is impossible, she said quickly. We are different species. We live on different worlds. My father expects me to return home and take my place in the government, but I cannot lie about my feelings. Honesty is something I learned from humans. Jake reached out and gently took her hand. Her skin was warm and soft, and it pulsed with golden light where he touched her. It's not impossible, he said. I love you too, Zara. I've been in love with you for days, but I was too scared to say anything. You were scared? You who called me gorgeous in front of both our governments? Jake laughed. That was an accident. This is much scarier. This is real. Zara's skin was now glowing so brightly that it lit up the whole observation area. So what do we do? How does love work between different species? I don't know, Jake admitted. I don't think anyone has ever tried it before, but Zara, I want to try. If you're willing. I am willing, she said immediately. But Jake, there will be problems. My people will not understand. Your people may not understand. We would be setting an example that has never been set before. Good, Jake said. I like being first at things. Besides, our peoples are learning to work together. Maybe they can learn that love works across species too. They talked for hours that night, making plans that seemed impossible but felt right. Jake would request a transfer to the new joint research facility that both governments were planning to build. Zara would ask her father to let her continue her cultural studies there. The next morning, Jake went to Captain Brooks with his request. You want to what? She said, staring at him. Transfer to the joint research facility. I want to continue working on interspecies communication. This wouldn't have anything to do with a certain Zephyrian scientist, would it? Jake's face turned red. Well, not entirely. Brooks leaned back in her chair. Harrison, do you understand what you're asking? A romantic relationship between species has never been attempted. We don't know if it's even possible long-term. There could be biological incompatibilities, cultural conflicts, political complications. Captain, with respect, 2 weeks ago we didn't know if communication between species was possible, but we figured it out. Maybe we can figure this out too. And if it doesn't work? If you're miserable? If it causes diplomatic problems? Then at least I'll know I tried, Jake said. Captain, I've never felt about anyone the way I feel about Zara, human or alien. If I don't try, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Brooks was quiet for a long time. Finally, she smiled. You know, Harrison, when you first screwed up that formal greeting, I thought you were going to cause a diplomatic disaster. Instead, you might be about to cause a diplomatic revolution. Is that a yes? That's a yes. I'll put in the transfer request. Meanwhile, Zara was having a similar conversation with her father. Jake didn't know about it until later, when she found him in the common area and practically glowed with excitement. He said yes, she announced, her skin cycling through every shade of gold Jake had ever seen. Your father agreed. Not immediately. He was concerned about the political implications, but I told him something that changed his mind. What did you tell him? Zara's skin settled into a warm, steady gold. I told him that the best way to prove our species can work together is to show that we can love together. That if a human and a Zephyrian can build a life across the stars, then our peoples can build a future across the galaxy. Jake stared at her. And that convinced him? That, and the fact that he likes you. He said anyone brave enough to call. His daughter, gorgeous in front of the entire diplomatic corps, is probably brave enough to handle the challenges of interspecies love. The final day of the exchange program came with mixed emotions. Both species had learned so much from each other. Friendships had been formed, agreements had been made. The future looked brighter than anyone had dared to hope. But for Jake, the most important moment came during the farewell ceremony. Captain Brooks was giving a speech about cooperation and understanding. The Zephyrian leader was responding with words about hope and new beginnings, all very formal and proper. Then Jake stood up. Excuse me, he said, his voice carrying across the room. I know this isn't protocol, but I have something I need to say. Everyone turned to look at him. Captain Brooks looked worried. The Zephyrian leader looked curious. Zara looked surprised, her skin flickering between silver and gold. Jake walked to the center of the room between both delegations. 2 weeks ago, I made a mistake, he said. I called someone gorgeous when I was supposed to use formal diplomatic language. Everyone thought it was a disaster. He looked directly at Zara, but it wasn't a disaster. It was the best mistake I ever made, because it taught me that sometimes being honest about your feelings is more important than following rules. Zara's skin began to glow. So I'm going to be honest now, Jake continued. Zara of the Science Council, daughter of the High Council. You are not just gorgeous, you are brilliant, you are kind, you are brave. You have changed the way I see the universe, and you have changed the way I see myself. The room was completely silent except for the hum of translation devices. I love you, Jake said simply. And I think that love between our species is just the beginning of something amazing. Zara stood up slowly. Her skin was now glowing so brightly that it cast golden light throughout the room. Jake Harrison of Earth, she said, her voice clear and strong. You have taught me that the most beautiful thing in the universe is not the light of stars, but the warmth of an honest heart. And you have the most honest heart I have ever known. To walk to the center of the room to stand beside him. I love you too, she said, and I believe our love will help our peoples learn that the universe is smaller and more connected than we ever imagined. The room erupted in surprised conversations. Some humans looked shocked. Some Zephyrians seemed confused. But Captain Brooks was smiling, and Zara's father's skin showed warm colors of approval. Later, as the ceremonies ended and preparations began for departure, Zara and Jake stood together on the observation deck one more time. Are you ready for this? Zara asked. For trying something no one has ever tried before? Jake looked at her glowing skin, her beautiful eyes, her graceful movements. He thought about the way she laughed at his jokes, the way she listened to his ideas, the way she made him want to be better than he was. I've never been more ready for anything in my life, he said. Zara smiled and took his hand. Where their skin touched, hers glowed brighter. Then let us go build a future together, she said. Across the 6 months later, Jake stood in front of a new group of young diplomats at the Interspecies Cultural Institute. The facility was beautiful, built half on a human space station and half on a Zephyrian orbital platform, connected by a crystal bridge that sparkled with both human and alien technology. Remember, Jake told the nervous-looking group, the most important part of first contact isn't getting the formal greetings right. It's being genuine. People of any species can tell when you're being real with them. A young woman named Kate raised her hand. But Lieutenant Harrison, what if we make a mistake? What if we say something wrong and cause a diplomatic incident? Jake smiled and glanced across the room to where Zara was briefing a group of young Zephyrian diplomats. Her skin was its usual, warm gold color, which Jake now knew meant she was happy and content. Well, Kate, Jake said, 6 months ago I called an alien princess gorgeous by mistake during the most important diplomatic meeting in human history, and you know what happened? You almost caused an interspecies war, suggested another student. Actually, it led to the greatest diplomatic breakthrough our species have ever had. Sometimes mistakes open doors that perfect protocol would keep locked. As if she could sense him talking about her, Zara looked over and caught his eye. She smiled, and her skin brightened just a little. Even after all this time, that golden glow still made Jake's heart skip a beat. The key, Jake continued, is to be honest about your mistakes. Don't try to cover them up or pretend they didn't happen. Own them, learn from them, and use them to build better understanding. After the orientation session ended, Jake walked over to where Zara was finishing up with her group of young Zephyrians. How did your first day as an instructor go? He asked. Very well, Zara replied in English. Her accent was much lighter now after months of practice. Though I think some of them were more interested in hearing about our relationship than about proper cultural exchange protocols. Jake laughed. Same with my group. I guess we've become something of a curiosity. Is that what we are? A curiosity? We're a lot of things, Jake said, taking her hand, making her arm. A curiosity, an experiment, a symbol, a hope for the future. But mostly we're just Jake and Zara who happen to love each other. They walked together through the facility, past laboratories where human and Zephyrian scientists worked side by side, past common areas where both species shared meals and conversations, past the communication center where the new translation protocols they had developed were being used to prevent the kind of misunderstandings that had almost ended the peace process. I received a message from my father today, Zara said as they walked. Good news or bad news? Good news. The High Council has officially approved our relationship as a model for interspecies cooperation. They want to use our success story to encourage more cultural exchange programs. How do you feel about being a poster couple for interspecies love? Zara's skin shifted to a thoughtful silver blue. I think it is a responsibility we should take seriously. We are proving that love can exist between any two beings who truly understand each other. This is important for the future. They stopped at their favorite spot, a quiet garden area with earth flowers and Zephyrian crystal plants growing side by side. Jake had proposed to Zara here 2 months ago, using a human tradition that she had found fascinating. The engagement had made news across both worlds. Speaking of the future, Jake said, pulling out a data pad, I got the final approval today for our joint research project. Zara's eyes widened, her skin brightening to excited gold. The Universal Translation System? The very one. We're going to develop translation protocols that can work with any species we might encounter in the future. Not just words, but cultural context, emotional meaning, even body language and color changes. This is wonderful. Zara's skin was now glowing so brightly that nearby flowers seemed to lean toward her light. When do we start? Tomorrow. But Zara, this project could take years. It might mean traveling to different worlds, meeting new species, being away from our families for long periods. Are you sure you want to take this on? Zara looked at him with surprise. Jake Harrison, we have already proven that love can bridge the gap between species. Now we want to build bridges that will help every species communicate better. This is the most important work we could possibly do. Even if it's dangerous? Even if we're the test subjects for every new first contact situation? Especially then. Zara's skin pulsed with determined gold light. We know what it feels like to be misunderstood across species lines. We know how terrible it is when communication fails. If we can prevent other species from going through that confusion and fear, then we should do it. Jake smiled. This was one of the things he loved most about Zara, her determination to use their experiences to help others. Okay then, he said. Let's go build some bridges. That evening, they attended a celebration dinner for the 6-month anniversary of the Cultural Exchange Program. Representatives from both species gave speeches about the success of the program and the bright future of human-Zephyrian relations. But the moment that meant the most to Jake came when Captain Brooks, now Director Brooks of the Cultural Institute, stood up to speak. 6 months ago, she said, a young lieutenant made what seemed like a terrible mistake. He broke protocol, ignored his training, and spoke from the heart instead of from his manual. Jake felt his face turn red as everyone in the room looked at him. That mistake, Brooks continued, led to the breakthrough that made everything we see today possible. It taught us that genuine emotion and honest communication are more powerful than perfect protocol. She raised her glass. To Lieutenant Jake, Harrison, and scientist Zara, who proved that love really can conquer all, including the vastness of space. The room erupted in applause and cheers from both species. Zara's skin glowed with happiness as she squeezed Jake's hand. Later, as they walked back to their shared quarters, a specially designed space that accommodated both human and Zephyrian needs, Zara was unusually quiet. What are you thinking about? Jake asked. I'm thinking about that first day, she said. When you called me gorgeous, and I asked you to say it again. What about it? I knew something important was happening, but I did not know what. I just knew that no one had ever looked at me the way you looked at me, or spoken to me the way you spoke to me. How did I look at you? Zara stopped walking and turned to face him. Like I was beautiful inside and outside, like you saw not just my appearance, but my soul. I did see your soul, Jake said softly. And it was gorgeous too. Even now, months later, the compliment made Zara's skin flush golden. Do you know what the most amazing thing is? What? Every day you still look at me that same way. Like you are seeing me for the first time and finding me beautiful all over again. Jake cupped her face gently in his hands. Because every day I do see something new and beautiful about you. Your curiosity, your kindness, your wisdom, your courage. You become more gorgeous every day I know you. Zara's skin glowed so brightly that it lit up the entire corridor. And this is why I love humans, she said. You are not afraid of big emotions. You are not afraid to say what you feel. And I love Zephyrians because they glow when they're happy, so I always know when I've said the right thing. Zara laughed, a sound like silver bells that Jake never got tired of hearing. Jake Harrison, she said, will you do something for me? Anything. Will you tell me I'm gorgeous like you did that first day? I know it is silly, but that moment changed my entire life. Jake smiled and took both her hands in his. Zara of Zephyr Prime, daughter of the High Council, brilliant scientist, bridge builder. Between worlds and love of my life, he said formally. Then his voice softened. You are absolutely gorgeous. Inside and out, in every way that matters, you are the most beautiful being in the universe. Zara's skin erupted in golden light so bright that it was visible through the windows of the station. Her joy was so pure and radiant that it seemed to warm everything around them. Say it again, human, she whispered, just like she had that first day. You're gorgeous, Zara, and I'm going to keep telling you that every day for the rest of our lives. As they stood there in the corridor, glowing with love and happiness, Jake thought about how strange life was. A simple mistake, calling an alien girl gorgeous when he meant to say something formal, had led to love, to understanding between species, to a career building bridges across the stars. Tomorrow they would start their new project, working to help other species communicate and understand each other. They would travel to new worlds, meet new beings, and probably make new mistakes along the way. But tonight, they were just Jake and Zara, two beings from different worlds who had found in each other something beautiful and rare and worth building a future around. I love you, Jake said. I love you too, Zara replied, her skin pulsing with golden warmth. And somewhere in the universe, another species was looking up at the stars and wondering if they were alone. Soon, if Jake and Zara had their way, they would have an answer, and the tools to build their own bridges across the darkness. The best mistakes Jake had learned were the ones that led to the most beautiful endings, and this was just the beginning.